We got a futures game preview here. The rosters are out. They've been out for a little bit, but we were delayed to hop on this episode because I was out and about, finally back, and just want to apologize in advance. Just got off of a 9-hour flight. I am a little bit delirious, but I spent much of that flight diving into these players and diving into the futures game roster. So we're all good on that front. Jack, did you miss me this last week? You did a great job. Cooper was awesome.
Cooper was great, right?
You carried the show for the last week, man. I mean, how is your back feeling?
It's fine. I think there were only 2 episodes that went out. One of them was archived from you on it. So I frankly, we're fine. It was great.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we're good. What's up with you, Mr. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? You're working on, we did the math, 17 hours worth of travel. And within 7 minutes of walking into your apartment in New York City, it's like, hey, welcome back to the failed social experiment. Time to talk prospects. Are you good?
Yes, I've never felt like time is faker in my entire life or more fake. Yeah. But no, I feel good. I'm pumped, and this is the easy way to kind of get me going and wake me back up. But no, I got to check off Wimbledon, which was like just a bucket list thing. Going to see my sister out there. Timed up really well. Maybe not the best for the baseball calendar, but we're ready to go for All-Star Week in the futures game. Very excited for it. And I always like this episode because I feel like this is our opportunity to tap into maybe some of the audience that isn't as keen on prospects. That's usually going to be more on the YouTube side, but now with search engine optimization and things like that, now people can discover this episode. If you did, and you're not a prospect person, but you want to know about these players, this is our kind of opportunity to pitch you on why each of them are worth watching. And then even if you know all of them because you listen to the show, I think it's just a fun conversation anyways, as to what's worth watching with each of these very talented players.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that will watch the futures game, and it will be the first time watching one of these guys play on, like something that isn't, like a grainy low A footage on Twitter. You know what I mean? It's like you get spurts, and you've probably seen. Let's take Luke Keeschall, for example. You've seen the name around, even if you're a prospect guy, but you've probably never sat down to watch Luke Keeschall play an entire inning or take a full AB. You've
at least in 1080p.
Yeah, exactly. And like now we've got that on MLB Network. It is like the highest budget production that we get to see these guys. And I mean, this is my pitching Super Bowl. Like seeing all these guys throw an inning and just let it eat. I'm so excited for this. So I'll walk us through kind of position group by position group. The entire roster is like written down are in the episode description, but we'll go AL catcher, AL infield, NL infield, AL outfield, NL outfield, and then AL and NL pitchers. And we'll just kind of go like name by name, and guys that you're particularly excited to watch, tell me why you're particularly excited to watch.
I love it. Let's do it. And also we'll squeeze in a little bit of the maybe some combine or the skills combine predictions.
The skills competition. The combine already happened. There's a lot of prospect things. Also, programming note, live stream for the MLB draft on Sunday at 7 p.m. We will be streaming from Play Ball Sports Cards and Memorabilia in Arlington. It's presented by Chinook Seedery. It's going to be very cool. And we're going to kind of sit there and do like a pick by pick breakdown on live stream. So join us on the Just Baseball YouTube for that.
And I'm really excited about that. Glad you plugged that, because this is the most most time we've put into kind of the production of the draft. The live streams last year, we flew by the seat of our pants and they went all right. And it seemed like people, didn't hate it. So I think if you didn't hate the last one, you might even like this one.
Yeah, 100%. I was in my, what was it? I was in my parents' like side office in 22, and you were like, you want to do a draft live stream? I was like, sure, let's go ahead and do that. And like, we got a bunch of people in there kind of getting analysis. I was like, all right, like this totally works. Let's try and up the budget a little bit. And we've upped it, and I think it's going to look really sharp. So we'll jump in here with the American League catchers. And it's a good group, like very, very good group. And you're going to get Samuel Basallo, who's in Double A for the Baltimore Orioles, consensus top 20 prospect in baseball. I think we've got him back half of the top 10. Harry Ford, the Seattle Mariners in Double A, and Kyle Teal with Double A Portland. We had a good conversation about Teal with Cooper earlier this week. That guy is like big league ready. It seems at this point, like it's a matter of time. And I know he's a catcher, and Wong is swinging it well, but Basallo, Ford, Teal, aside from maybe Edgar Carroll, I'm not sure you could ask for a better assortment.
I think it's exactly what you could want. And it's a fun balance where you're going to get some speed with Harry Ford. And just, I think he's just fun to watch operate behind the dish because of how unique he is and athletic he is. And then with Basayo, you're going to get the potential to hit a mammoth home run. But also, I think where Basayo could stand out is kind of the catching version of what we saw from Mason Wynn in the Futures game, which was he cuts loose on a throw, and everyone's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he has that kind of arm. It'll have to work out timing wise, but guys like to go in this game and in terms of trying to run on the bases. And if Basayo cuts one loose, or at least maybe he tries to backpick someone to show it off, I think people are going to be shocked at how strong this arm is. We've talked about it like it is, I think, an 80 arm for a catcher. I hope that he shows that off. But beyond that, I think just being able to see Basayo, one of the younger guys in this game, competing, Ford, not his first time. So I think he might have a little bit more fun with it, maybe try to swipe a bag or two. And then Teal is a guy you got to watch over a larger period of time. But I think people are going to just enjoy the way he goes about his business. He's a tough guy to punch out. He grinds out ABs. He can spray it to all fields. And it's just one of those players where even when you only watch a couple of at-bats, you're like, oh, I like the way he goes about his business. So I think all of those catchers are going to endear themselves, but I think more because of Teal not being seen as much and Basayo, I think those two guys are going to win a lot of people over.
I'm going to make a claim, and I want you to tell me if this is out of bounds or not. If the Red Sox do the PR thing where Meyer, Anthony, Teal go to AAA together and go to the big leagues together, they're A, slightly rushing Roman Anthony.
Yes.
And B, holding Kyle Teal back. Is that fair?
That's pretty fair. I mean, Anthony's been red hot, but I don't see any reason to rush that. But with Teal, it's really just a matter of some subtle defensive things. And that might be best to, get finished in the development side of things at the big league level. Everything else looks pretty darn good. So I'm with you. And that's why I don't think they're going to do that. I think Teal beats them all.
Yeah. National League catchers here. It's kind of interesting, and it's not as star-studded as you may think the American League is, but Drake Baldwin is the one that's kind of the wild card. Drake Baldwin, Atlanta, he got up to AAA, so he's a Gwinnett Striper as it stands right now. Drake Baldwin is in the catching trio with Tyrone Lorenzo, the switch-hitting Dodger prospect, who's kind of splitting his time between catcher and first. I think I saw him hop in the corner outfield, too, with high A Great Lakes. But, he's in high A, born in 2003. And then the 06 baby, Ethan Salas, is in Fort Wayne at the high A level. But it's Salas, Lorenzo, Baldwin. It's intriguing. It's not as good as the American League, but I frankly maybe more inclined to watch them than Basayo, Ford, Teal, because I got enough looks at Basayo, Ford, Teal.
I agree. So I have two things. Do you want me to start with the positive or the negative?
Negative. Always bad news first.
Okay, bad news first. Do you think, and I understand the context is important here, but still, do you think Ethan Salas has the lowest OPS in the history of Futures game participants?
Yes.
There's no way. There's no way anyone's ever had a lower one. And I'm not saying this to dunk on Ethan Salas. I'm saying this more to dunk on AJ Preller for doing the silliest thing in the world, which is just setting this guy up for failure and then wanting to celebrate him and promote him and say, look how good he is. Look how good he is. I think you're going to see out there, obviously, I said Basayo is one of the youngest. Clearly, Ethan Salas is the youngest and probably the youngest player in the history of the game as well. So both of those things, I think intersect there and are very important, context. But I think people are just going to be impressed by the fact that Ethan Salas doesn't look like a teenager when he's out there. And I think that's what you're going to see. I don't know if he's going to handle the pitching. He's still working to handle high A pitching, but I do think that you're going to see a guy that does not look like a teenager and the youngest player in that game. And just to get a look at somebody that, especially if you're even just a casual baseball fan, you've heard the name Ethan Salas countless times, but you probably haven't seen much other than some clips here and there. So it is an opportunity to just see and maybe hear from a kid that is way ahead of his years.
Well, and you've probably never seen him catch either. And I think part of the reason that we brand him as the most mature, 16, 17-year-old that there was because of the acumen behind the plate and how smooth, how comfortable he looked in big league spring training at 16 years old?
Yeah,
is that
16.
when? Yeah, it was 16 years old. Crazy that they had him catch. But the fact that he did not look like a fish out of water defensively was part of the reason that I think shot him up the top 100 lists, into top fives way before he should have been there. But you're going to see him catch and you're going to be impressed by him catching. I'm excited to see one or two ABs from him. I was actually looking this date. We're recording on July 11th, and you might be listening to this on the evening of the 11th. But July 11th, 2010, 18-year-old Mike Trout had a multi-hit futures game. He was 18 at the time. Thing is, he was 18 and 11 months. His birthday's in August. Salas turned 18 on June 1st. So he is 18 and 40 days. When Trout had a multi-hit futures game, he was 18 and 11 months. So I'm with you. He could be the youngest participant and probably the lowest OPS participant.
Yes, both. So they kind of wash each other out there, and I'm excited to watch him. And I think it's better for the game for him to be there, like better for the futures game, period. So it's not an indictment and not saying we don't want to see him there. I got to say, Drake Baldwin might be one of the guys I'm most excited to see. As really crazy as that sounds, because while I was away, this is one of the players that I dove deeper into. And the Braves did it again, man. Like, they've got a dude here. They've got a dude. And not just because he's balling out in his last 30 games, which he absolutely is. His last 30 games, by the way, and in between the upper levels of the minor leagues. 308, 428, 517 slash line. That's a 944 OPS. He's making a ton of contact. He's hitting the living crap out of the ball. He's a pretty sound defensive catcher. Like, he's walking more than he's striking out. The EVs are off the charts. Even of late, he's homered in 3 of his last 4 games as we're recording this. He's walked 2 times or more in the majority of his last 10 to 15 games. Like, this guy's got something going on here, and he's just 23 years old. So they found another piece here all of a sudden. And again, this span, it's mostly AAA since he got brought up there. And we've seen there's been that learning curve there, and guys that we've talked to have said it's been, a learning period. So this is somebody that all of a sudden looks like he belongs on top 100 lists that quickly, from anonymity to top 100 lists. So I love that the Braves are sending him, and he kind of got hot even after that. So he's validating it, and I haven't seen him live yet. So this is a player that I'm just excited to see the way he goes about his business on both sides of the game.
I don't think the Braves are going to be big fish hunting at any point, near the deadline or even this offseason. But when you say all that, it makes me think, oh, they have a legit trade chip here that they may be showcasing in this game. But he may stick around for a little bit if they're not necessarily going big fish hunting.
Especially because he can swing it. Like, this is a guy that I think just bat-wise alone, they might just love the bat and have that d'Arnaud type of situation.
Right, swap d'Arnaud out. D'Arnaud's getting older, so it's hey, thank you for your services. We've got this young guy, and we're starting his clock now.
Heck of a lot cheaper, too. 90th percentile exit velocity this year of 107. So just if you're wondering, can he hold the DH spot? Can he carry the offensive, responsibility that comes with that? Yeah, he's got that upside to do that. So this has been a fast climber, and I even, reached out to a couple people, and in terms of teams taking notice, it seems like he's a guy that a lot of scouts are already starting to fall in love with. So it could be an audition, or I think more likely, I agree with you. It looks like he's a cheaper option and a replacement for d'Arnaud in that hybrid catcher DH role, especially after a year where Sean Murphy has, been banged up a little bit.
Yeah. Jump into the American League infield. We're going to kind of work in groups of 3 because it is a bigger clumping. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys to go over. We can work in groups of 4. That's nice and round. Xavier Isaac, the Tampa Bay Rays. We know a lot about him. In high A, masher, some of the best pure power in this game, maybe the most powerful guy in this game. Luke Keyshaw was a late add. The Minnesota Twins prospect is in Double-A with Wichita. Hao-Yu Lee is in Double-A Erie with the Tigers. Marcelo Meyer, a Portland Sea Dog, Double-A with the Boston Red Sox. I think you know about Isaac and Meyer if you're listening to this. Meyer, slick fielding shortstop, juice, top 10 overall pick, not too long ago. Xavier Isaac has been one of the better power bats in minor league baseball. But Hao-Yu Lee, we've talked about a decent bit over the last month or two because he's gotten so hot. And then Keyshaw, kind of the most underrated, performer of the first half.
Yeah, easily. And what I love about Isaac being in it too is, you expected it, but we got to see him and we've talked about it, but I think he rises to the occasion sometimes in these big games, and you can tell he likes the stage, and he's a bit of a performer too in a good way. And,
he was good in the playoffs last year, right? He was really good in the postseason.
For that, yeah, they moved him back down to play some meaningful games and came up big for them there. And then we saw what he did in the spring breakout game, which it was just crazy. You could tell he's just playing loose, having fun with it. So I think he's going to be somebody that I think rises to the occasion again here, and hopefully he goes deep so people can see him do the sleeping on me thing around third base. But I do want to talk about how you lead. I love players coming into this game that are as hot as anybody on the planet offensively, and how you lead over his last 30 games is slashing 366, 413, 618. So he's coming into this game red hot, and that's at the AA level. I think it's been really fun to see what he can do when he's healthy, coming over in that Lorenzen deal. Still just 21 years old. Another one of those kind of positionless sluggers, but I'm here to watch guys rake, and that's going to be fun. Keyshaw kind of cut from a similar cloth in terms of we're still trying to figure out where he's going to play, but the good news for him is he can actually play a few different spots and has potential there. They've continued to try him out in center field. He's played some first. He's played some second. I want to see the way he just manages his at-bats in person because he can spoil tough pitches. He gets to so many different spots in terms of being able to make contact. He's really tough to beat with a heater. He never chases. Like, this is another one of those guys that you're just going to watch the way he commands an at-bat against someone that's guaranteed to be nasty. And you're going to say, oh, how did he take that? How did he spoil that? And then he's going to sneak a ground ball up the middle or something. And, it might not go viral, but I think the people that are tapped into the game are really going to appreciate it. And talk about a guy that has been pretty hot as well. I mean, Keyshaw has been riding a nice stretch over his last handful of games and has been swinging it all year. I mean, he's, like you said, one of the best hitters in the minor leagues this year.
I just had the internal revelation that we're talking about all these hitters, and I think this game's going to be 1-0 because the Stavs are so gross. But we'll talk about that at the end of the pod, obviously. But this is a bad game to be a hitter in. I think when I'm just looking at the two Stavs, I feel a little bit better about the National League hitters because the National League pitching crop is disgusting. The American League infield, kind of back half of that, Colson Montgomery in AAA with the White Sox, Ralphie Velasquez in low A with Lynchburg, low A with Cleveland. He's a Lynchburg Hillcat. Sebastian Walcott, 2006, baby, born in March of 2006. High A Hickory with the Rangers, and Cole Young is in AA Arkansas. The Pittsburgh native is in the Mariners system, and he's the top prospect for the Seattle Mariners. This is an interesting clump. Colson has had a fine go of AAA this year. I feel like he hasn't dominated any level. And we're just looking at a guy that's been very, very young at a bunch of different levels and was really good, but then was really bad in Project Birmingham, but then got up to Birmingham at a semi-appropriate time and was good, and then has been good at a young age in AAA. I'm curious to see how he handles top flight pitching, albeit in 2-3 ABs. But Ralphie and Walcott, I'm fascinated by because they're going to be punching above their weight class in low A and high A, respectfully.
Walcott's a guy that I think could hit the most notable home run in this game. You talked about Xavier Isaac maybe having the best power, and I'd say consistently at this point, yes, probably does have the best raw power as well. But if Walcott connects with one, I think he can hit it as far as anybody, and that's going to be a fun one. I mean, we've seen him hit home runs already 450 plus and put up EVs well over 113, 114. I think he already popped a 116 this year. This guy's 18. So the Rangers have a special talent here. And that's a guy that I haven't really been able to see in person. So very pumped to see Walcott. And I think when you look at this group in general, being younger too, like Ralphie's another guy. We know he's got juice, but I'm just eager to kind of see the way he handles that top flight stuff too, because Walcott high A, but Ralphie low A at this point and has been great. But I do want to see, what it looks like when you're getting Bubba Chandler for one inning. And when you're getting some of these other arms that we're going to talk about for one inning. How do you handle that as a younger guy that's kind of getting thrown into the deep end? That's the fun part about this game. If he gets blown up, he gets blown up. Who cares? He's a young guy facing all the top arms in the minor leagues in one inning spurts. But if he catches one, or has a good AB, that's always really fun and encouraging to see.
With all due respect to Cole Young, he may be the most boring guy in this game because he does things the right way. And, he might make a nice play defensively, but that's kind of it. And you can appreciate him, again, you can appreciate him over a full sample, much like Kyle Teal.
Yeah, I would say Cole Young, super niche, cool thing you might see is him lacing a base hit on a pitch that is really tough to get to. And you got to be kind of a nerd to like that. Yeah. Like a hard fastball from a lefty running in on his hands or something. And he just yanks it, keeps it fair. It's going to be something like that you have to be a nerd to appreciate. And I think a lot of our audience will hopefully appreciate that, and we will. But yeah, it's not going to be something that I think you're going to see posted on MLB Pipeline. Like, look at Cole Young, keep the hands inside and shoot this 88-mile-an-hour line drive over the second baseman's head. Like, probably not.
Look at the intangibles on the Mariners shortstop prospect. Yeah, look at those intangibles, man. And it's okay because if you are a nerd, you're allowed to call other people nerds, which, like, good on you for calling a spade there. We'll jump to the National League infield here. And the National League infield is fine. Like, one of the more underwhelming groupings, I think. And again, we'll work in groupings of 4. Cam Collier in high A with Cincinnati. Davison De Los Santos has been the best hitter in minor league baseball to this point. Bryce Eldridge can get into one. Isaac already, Walcott already. Eldridge can hit a ball 450. I feel good about that. And then Termarr Johnson, who can also really get into one, high A with the Pirates. I'm curious to see how they kind of run this out. I assume Termarr is going to be the starting second baseman, and De Los Santos will probably be the starting first baseman. And those are 2 guys that I'm kind of excited to see just get their A swings off.
Yep.
I'm not sure that we're going to see a B swing from either of them.
No, I want to pull my yard card on De Los Santos, and I know it's like low-hanging fruit because he's been the best hitter, like you mentioned, in the minor leagues. But if there's one thing that compromises De Los Santos, it's the approach. And this is a game where no one wants to walk anybody. They'd rather give up a bomb, I think, than walk somebody, because who cares? You give up a bomb to one of the best power hitters in the game in the minor leagues. Doesn't matter. It goes both ways. What we were just saying about the hitters, same thing for the pitchers. They don't care. They'd rather not, but I think walking somebody's worse. De Los Santos knows that. They're going to go after him. And if they fall behind, again, they don't want to walk him. I think just with how dialed he is right now and just how much more advanced he is from just a bat to ball and game power perspective, I just think he has an edge in this game. So I'm pulling the yard card on De Los Santos. Collier, it makes sense for him to be there. He really cooled off after a hot start, but still young, talented, hits the ball really hard, is one of the Reds' key guys. If you're looking at their future, they might package him in a deal if they want to, but I think he is one of their core prospects that they like to brand, and that's why he's at the game. But like out of that group, I guess, like, who are you the most excited to catch?
Eldridge is probably my yard card runner-up. I'm actually saving my yard card for an American League outfielder, but I think Eldridge is the one that I'm excited to see because, there was so much intrigue about the two-way thing, and he's huge. He's 6'7", 223. I just want to see how those limbs move in the box because I liked how they moved on the hill, and that's kind of easier for me to ingest, like just seeing the pitching tape, watching the pitching video in like the draft profiles of him. I understood. I was like, wow, you're a big guy that moves really well. And we talked about him kind of being a ground ball oriented strike thrower on the mound. And like, I remember not too long ago, you said that there's a chance that this guy could end up maybe doing both. They scrapped the pitching thing. But that's it, just because like I'm intrigued to see how the arms and legs move. Bryce Eldridge jumps out among that grouping of 4.
I love that pick too, because I mean, by all accounts as well, I mean, this is somebody that I think it really was a situation where it wasn't because he's not able to pitch. And we talked about it. We liked him. It was just, you're so good at the plate already as a 6'7", teenager when they first saw him. Like, let's focus on the hitting here because we might have something extremely special. Why water that down with a guy that might be a 4-starter? So I love that they did that because I do think it's going to pay off in the long run. And I mean, Eldridge is a guy that we talked about it. Like, we saw him on the backfields go deep off of Shota Imanaga and hit it 400 plus feet. We've seen him hit some tape measure shots, but he's also a little bit more hitterish, I think, than he gets credit for. And I think that's something that you allude to here, where people might start to realize, whoa, he's huge, but this is way more of a hitter than I think I would have expected. Now getting to see him in higher quality or in person or whatever it may be. And then staying on the theme of who's hot coming into this game, Pirates prospect Termarr Johnson. He turned 20 and pretty much started going crazy right after that. And it's nice because he had a bit of a slow start as well, but his last 30 games, 302, 415, 474. We talked about it, right? Like, okay, he's clearly trying to cut down on the whiff here, and he's done that. He's hitting for more average, but where's the power? He's never going to be that 70 hit tool guy. We need that power to be there like it's been in the past. Now I think he's kind of found that middle ground, at least of late, and he's slugging a little bit now too, with still the improved bat to ball. I'm excited to see a Termarr now that's kind of feeling himself because we know how talented he is. And in a game like this, if he gets his best swing off, it might be the most beautiful of all the swings that we see if he really connects with one.
Yeah. Second clumping of 4 in the National League infield. Aiden Miller of the Phillies, he just got the promotion to high A. He's been there for a couple of weeks now. Harold Perez, low A, Rancho Cucamonga with the Dodgers. Cooper Pratt, low A with the Brewers. He's a Carolina Mudcat right now. And then Matt Shaw is in double A. Mistakenly, it might have been while you were in Europe. Did you see he mistakenly got put on the Iowa Cubs roster on MILB.com? And then was taken off. He was for some reason, you Google Iowa Cubs roster, Shaw was on there for a morning. So that sent Cubs X into just a total frenzy. And then they corrected it. And he's been in Tennessee now for the last week and a half.
And of course, if any fan base is going to catch that, a clerical error, a clerical error, it will be the Cubs fan base with a prospect as fast as anybody. So
no
probably the worst team you could have done that with, especially with a prospect as talented as Matt Shaw. And getting a chance to see him in spring training, he's a guy that can just get some crazy swings off on tough pitches and really battle against some of the best arms. And he's also, really taken off after a slow start. So Shaw, I always enjoy watching him do his thing, whether he's locked in or not. Harold Perez might be one of the players I'm most excited to see because he's been somewhat anonymous for us. Those lower level, those lower level, especially West Coast prospects, objectively harder for us to see, especially me on the East Coast. But just in general, I do feel like the West Coast, the California League broadcast can be a little bit worse at times, and the video is not always great. From what I've been able to see from Perez, the Dodgers have another one here, right? It's above average power for his age. He's hitting for average. He has a good approach. I just want to see what it all looks like because he's a super power-oriented, I think relatively speaking, second baseman here as a teenager that's already starting to run into exit velos like he has and elevates pretty consistently. I just want to see what it all looks like and see if he can fend off that move to second and maybe play some third. I saw Miller recently. Always fun to watch him do his thing. And I think people are really excited about him in Philadelphia for good reason. I don't think they're going to trade him at all because of how impressive he's looked. And that's just a bat speed show there. And then Cooper Pratt, I think, has also been one of the more underrated performers in the minor leagues this year. They shelled out, the Brewers did, some money to be able to sign him away from a college commitment in the fourth round. Was it fourth round?
I think so. Because they underslotted Wilkin in the first. Is that right? And
then they got as creative as anybody. And I know Cooper Pratt was a big name. You could probably argue, I don't know, I couldn't ask somebody with the Brewers, but I would imagine that he was the one that was circled when they had their savings. This is the priority. I would fairly confidently say that. He looks like he can stick it short, even though he's 6'4". His field of hits been there. There's power projection. Another guy, like you said, with Eldridge, it's not quite as big, but the fact that he's a shortstop, I just want to see how this all looks. I want to see how he moves because as an amateur, I'm thinking, oh, that might be like a DJ LeMahieu type of profile in the making here. But now he's playing short still. Looks like he can stick there. I just want to know what the profile looks like, and seeing him in person and the way he moves will be super helpful.
100%. All right, we're going to jump to the American League outfield, National League outfield, and then both pitching staffs. But before that, quick break. Okay, the American League outfield, grouping of 5 in both leagues. So I'll just kind of throw all of them at you, and I'm going to pull my yard card in the American League outfield. Jason Chorio, Jackson's younger brother, switch hitter, low A with Cleveland right now. He's a Lynchburg Hillcat. So he and Ralphie, I don't know how they're getting to Arlington because it's not like there's a direct flight from Lynchburg, Virginia to Arlington, Texas. But, they're probably going to have to drive a little bit. Jason Chorio, Max Clark, who's in Lakeland right now, low A for the Tigers. Gavin Cross, double A with Kansas City. That's my yard card. I'm kidding. Spencer Jones is my actual yard card, double A for the Yankees. And then Chandler Simpson, he's my stolen base card, my speed card, my Roadrunner card that I'm pulling, I guess. Double A Montgomery, Tampa prospect. Spencer Jones is my yard card because of that multi-homer day in spring breakout and how good he was in big league spring training. You talk about Xavier Isaac rising to the moment. I think Jones is that kind of guy that has risen to the moment in the very few and far between opportunities you get, frankly, in minor league baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, he has been better lately, so that is nice. Like a guy that was really struggling out of the gate, starting to slug. I agree with you, though. That is a guy that just seems to, in those games where people are watching, he goes deep, and then you almost forget how bad it's been swing and miss wise when you're not watching. It just seems to be something that he times up quite well. He did it all the way through spring training. It seemed like every game that was televised as well, or they would cut on MLB Network, he'd seem to go deep. But I think that's a good pull there, especially with him tapping into the game power a little bit more. But what's fun about this group in general, I think, is you have just such a wide range of ages and like profiles, because you have Spencer Jones, who's 6'6", 6'7", light tower power, and then you have a Chandler Simpson, who's like the fastest man on earth, and then you got kind of combination of everything with Max Clark, and then Jason Chorio is just that young, exciting, popular name, and then you got Gavin Cross. But Cross has been good this year. Like I do think that he has taken a big step forward. Royals first round pick. Obviously, they want to send him to this game. That's a guy that they were hoping would have been a slam dunk to be at the game before. But it has been better for him, and he is a guy that will be a big leaguer, I still think, and maybe is a trade chip for them at some point. This could be one of those audition candidates. But hot player coming into this one is Max Clark. And talk about a guy that's going to love the stage. You know Max Clark's going to love the stage. He's going to be fun with it. He's going to have the chains out. He's going to be great. It's going to be great, because like that's what you want. And he's going to give MLB everything they want in terms of being that marketable, fun player. I'm sure, like you said, he'll have the special cleats. Hopefully no haters on there, just positive things. And maybe he'll have his slash line over the last 30 games on those cleats, which would actually look great. 300, 392, 473. Cool. He's also starting to slug, here. So this is a guy that I think probably gets promoted to high. Like, he should not go back to Florida after this game.
I mean, McGonigal should have been out of Florida last month, but like, why not just get both of them to West Michigan right now?
If he doesn't go straight to West Michigan from this Futures game, I'm going to start to complain about that, because it's getting a little ridiculous. He's shown enough in low A. Get him out of that power sapping environment. Poor guy's probably burning his butt off there. He's been there long enough. Right. Let him get somewhere a little bit better weather-wise. Him and McGonigal should travel together. I agree. Like, it should be the way that it goes. And then Chorio, just a well-rounded player. It's just one of those guys that you think you're just going to see look polished and ahead of his years, and it's just a good piece there. But I am excited to see Chandler Simpson motor. I mean, that's something I think that's got to be circled for everybody in this game, and I can guarantee when he does motor, you will see that all over. And I'm sure they'll have some. I know Sarah Langs is going to be the first with the sprint speed and relate it to everybody else and just show us how ridiculously fast Chandler Simpson is. So looking forward to that from one of the best.
It's going to be so good with him running on StatCast, because he hasn't had it. Like, he wasn't in the Florida State League. So, I mean, he went from the Carolina League. I don't know what they're calling it now. I think it's Carolina League to South Atlantic League in high A. And now he's in the Southern League, and he has yet to see StatCast. So either get him to Durham or take off in a sprint, man. I want to see how quick you are. Are you 33 feet per second? You might be. We'll see what happens. Cross, I like the term trade chip with him, because he can absolutely headline a return for, a setup guy or something. And I think the Royals are looking for bullpen help, and they're looking for bullpen help with control. It may not happen this deadline. It may happen this offseason, but that feels like a good prospect get for a setup guy, him and a couple others.
I agree. And he's a guy that, again, it's been really nice to see him settle in, because it was ugly in the early points, and now he's really been. And also another player that over the last couple weeks has really been swinging it well. The underlying stuff doesn't look as good, so could be a sell high candidate, but he is a good athlete. He is going to run into enough power and to make the strides that he has bats to ball wise. Like, this is a solid prospect, and this is the one guy that does really feel like a potential audition.
Yeah. National League outfield. If I pulled a yard card on any of these four guys, would you call me insane? Justin Crawford, high A with the Phillies. Dylan Cruz, triple A with the Nats. We know Dylan Cruz. Drew Jones, low A with the Diamondbacks. James Triantos, double A with the Cubs. If I pulled a yard card on Crawford, Cruz, Drew Jones, or James Triantos, would you kick me off the pod?
Not Cruz. Cruz, that's fine.
But it's not like he's hitting for too much power right now.
No, but he is like a little bit more advanced, and he's still Dylan Cruz. So I would allow that one. If you picked anybody other than Dylan Cruz,
right? Like, I saw the walk-off homer from Drew Jones. That's my yard card.
And I'm glad Drew's been swinging it better. But I think the only guy that has a legitimate, and of course now multiple are going to go deep here in this group. But I do think Cruz is the one guy that you can reasonably say, okay, he's going deep in this one. Other than that, I mean, only 30% of the balls that Justin Crawford hits end up going in the air. So odds are already stacked against him. But we did really like the way that he commanded his ABs last time. He does hit the ball hard. He is really fast. He is fun to watch in center field. I don't know how they're going to allocate the center field time here, but you got
ball's not falling. Yeah, ball is not falling.
if you got both of these guys in the outfield at the same time, yeah, the under is even more of a guarantee because you've got, if anyone's lucky enough to connect, you have Drew Jones and Justin Crawford. They could probably just play each corner by themselves.
Look at Cruz, man. Like, don't forget about Dylan Cruz. Like, they have 3 of the better defensive outfielders in minor league baseball here. Like, a ball is not dropping.
No, that's actually, and then you just got James Triantos.
Right.
It reminds me kind of like the meme with like all of the soldiers and then the clown in the back. Not because of Triantos,
but because of defensive ability. Yeah.
Just relatively speaking here,
right.
like, and Triantos would probably admit it too, relative to these guys. I mean, Drew Jones, again, we know how special he can be out there. We've seen Crawford. He made a great grab when we went to the Futures game. And then you gushed about Cruz after that series and just how he glides out there. So I don't know how maybe they'll rotate it a little bit, but if you're lucky enough to get one in the air on a lot of these arms, it probably ain't falling unless it's a line drive. But it's a fun group here, and I am interested to see how Drew Jones fares against some of these top arms, though. Hopefully he can catch one because he has been swinging it better, but I still have a lot of concerns about the swing there. And I think in this game, like, his swing is going to stand out as being behind the rest. But again, he seems to continue to just perform because of the athleticism and raw talent. And I'm excited to see him, hopefully be able to rise to the occasion. And I'm especially excited to see him go get the ball out there in the outfield.
Yeah. Speaking of arms, let's jump to the American League staff. And I think we're saving the best for last with the National League arms, but the American League arms we'll kind of walk through in groups of 2 on the roster. AJ Blubaugh of the Houston Astros in AAA. He's with Sugarland right now. And then Caden Dana is in AA Rocket City. Dana and Blubaugh are Dana has more prospect pedigree than Blubaugh does. Blubaugh has had a really good start to the year. Dana has had a really good start to the year, and he's kind of one of the poster boys of Southern League pitching excellence this year. There's no tack ball or anything this year, but these 2 are like, intriguing, not sexy, but I'm going to watch.
Yeah. I mean, Blubaugh's good. And it looks like he could be a guy that ends up slotting into the rotation, or another guy that could be a trade chip as we continue to hear the stove heat up for the Astros. But they might need Blubaugh because he is a guy that seems like he can get up and eat innings. The thing with him, though, is the kitchen sink guys, like, I hope Blubaugh shows us one of everything. It's fastball, cutter, change, slider, curveball.
I can't wait to see that 5-pitch mix.
Yeah. Give us one of each. Like, it's just not one of those players that you can completely appreciate in one inning, but he deserves to be in this game. And I'm glad he's here. And the fact that he's been able to limit damage the way that he has, like his most impressive trick, like his most impressive talent this year, we won't be able to see, like, unless we turn it down to 0 gravity out there and say, okay, Blubaugh, go pitch. Watch him not let up any home runs with gravity turned down. Like, it's just not going to be one of those situations. But Dana, I do think is going to have an uptick, in that short spurt, because he is someone that's been focused on kind of stretching out more and turning over lineups and doing all that good stuff now. But I do think 6'4", 215, it's a fastball slider combination. He sits kind of in the mid 90s. I think in a 1 inning spurt, he might start running it up to the upper 90s, and he's going to look real nasty, I think, in that setting. So that would be a fun guy, I think, to watch tick up in a short spurt.
Yeah. Next grouping at 2 is Ben Kuderna, who I didn't realize was from Kansas. He's from Shawnee Mission, Kansas. Royals prospect in High A Quad City. So that's kind of cool that they've got like a Kansas City area guy that's making their way through and, one of their better pitching prospects. And then Luis Morales, the Oakland A's prospect who's in High A Lansing. I'm intrigued by Luis Morales. I'll kind of give you the floor on both, and then I'll fill in like, I think you're going to hit the nail on the head with Morales, but if there's anything else, I'll fill in.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect candidate of a guy that you want in a game like this, where we'll see how it all ultimately looks. And ironically, we're talking about an Oakland A's pitching prospects here, and it reminds me a little bit of like when Luis Medina was in this game, and we were watching him just hum in 100 miles an hour. Like, Morales has averaged 97 miles per hour with his fastball this year. He also has a disgusting change. It's just he struggles to command those secondaries. Don't really care. I want to see triple digits. He's going to probably give you that. He's 21. And if he does locate that changeup or that curveball, you're going to see some pretty, just stuff, I think, from this guy. Like, it is impressive stuff. And then jumping over to Kuderna, he might not have even asked you your changeup. So not a guy that's going to light up the radar gun per se, solid velo. He averages 93, but he's got a good slider, nasty changeup, uses them pretty evenly. Opponents are hitting low 200s against it, but with huge whiff numbers, huge ground ball numbers. I think Kudrna's changeup is going to particularly be a pitch that stands out. And I'm gonna pitching ninja card this one. I think
Kudrna.
He's the least sexy prospect, maybe that is going to get some love, some extra love with the changeup from pitching ninja. I'm going to call my ninja shot there.
Huh. That's a really interesting pitching ninja shot. I like that. Well, you're pulling the ninja card. I'm here for that. Next to are Fernando Perez of the Blue Jays, Low A Dunedin, and then Winston Santos with the Rangers. I know nothing about Fernando Perez. Winston Santos has been an interesting text conversation over the last couple months.
You calm me down about him every time because I just he's a guy that I don't know why I've just latched on to. I do think he's a guy that the Rangers have developed well and looks like he's heading in a really good direction. You keep reminding me, hey, he is repeating high A, by the way. Like it is nice to see him do well, but he is repeating high A. He's not 19, he's 22. So yes, those were important reminders, but he did really bounce back after the slow start to the Double A promotion. It was really just one bad start, bounces right back, goes 5 innings, 1 run. It wasn't earned, 7 Ks there. Santos gets some crazy ride on that fastball. So it's high carry and it's 96. This is a guy that I think in a short spurt though, because the fastball slider is so good. I think in a short spurt, he's going to really stand out. Like people are going to think he's better than he is. And like, he's good too. Like I think he's good. I don't have to convince you that, but he's a guy that because the command of the slider is good, because the fastball characteristics are good and he already sits in the mid 90s. I think people are going to see the fastball slider from Santos and be like, oh my gosh, like why is this guy not top 100? He struggles to maintain it, turnover lineups, things like that. He's doing it better than ever this year. And I'm excited to watch him in person because either it's going to validate me being a little bit overly excited about him or, maybe calm me down a little bit. But he has done a great job of missing bats, throwing strikes more than he ever has, and keeping the ball in the yard.
Yeah. Last grouping of 3 on the American League pitching side. Noah Schultz, best left-handed pitching prospect in baseball. I think at this point, Double A with the White Sox in Birmingham. Brock Selvage, Double A lefty with the Yankees. And then I'm pulling my ninja card here on the last guy. This is my American League ninja card. We get 1 pitching ninja card for both leagues. Emiliano Teodo's fastball.
Yeah.
That's like the easiest pitching ninja card ever to pull, but Double A with Texas. Electric. I'm excited to just like see Noah Schultz in person and see how limmy he is. Just see how much he flies around, yet he manages to paint corners every single freaking time.
Yeah, like we could pick the obvious ninja cards, but we wanted to go more niche here. I love the Teodo pick. Also, forgot to talk about Fernando Perez very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know a ton on him either, but he has thrown a lot of strikes. You and Cooper talked about Blue Jays pitching prospects. So, odds are already stacked against him, unfortunately. But this is a guy that has performed really well, has mixed up several pitches for a strike, filling up the zone. He's been one of the more impressive guys. He's limited hard contact, and I don't know if he's going to stand out that much, but it's mostly low 90s fastball. But going to Schultz, like that's a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to see Noah Schultz's slider on Pitching Ninja. Like that's one of the best sliders, if not the best slider in the minor leagues right now. Like it because of the shape and the velocity and his ability to command it, but also because he's 6'9". I've never had a baseball player, make me feel shorter. I mean, when we did the interview in Arizona and we stood up, I know we don't care. Like I'm in a mode when we're doing this because like they're all professional athletes and I'm just a commoner. So like I'm used to feeling small, but that was different, man. Like it's a little uncomfortable when you're looking straight up. And the fact that guy who could be like an NBA wing is also able to repeat his moves and fill up the zone that way. I want to see what 1 inning of Noah Schultz looks like too. I hope he doesn't cut like too loose. Like keep it healthy. Let's take it easy. I know they're already managing his innings, but him in 1 inning, he could flirt with triple digits. I mean, we've seen him easily touch the upper 90s, and that slider is absolutely diabolical. So I am excited about that. But Teodo is a guy that will touch triple digits. He already does it all the time. He might run it up to 102 in this game. And it's one of those that I think it looks better than it performs at times, the fastball, but it is performing better than ever this year because he's leaned more into the sinker and the four seamer, whereas it used to just be a dead zone pitch. He separated the two fastballs more so he can work north and south. And even though they don't get a ton of whiff, now just being able to work north and south with 99 to 100, that'll play. And he's doing that really well. I don't care what the whiff rates are, whatever. Watching 100 with run is always fun. Like even when Gratterall wasn't good, we loved watching him just rip 102 with run. And I think Teodo might do that. And he's been really good this year, though, overall. And he's starting to make a strong case to not only get a call up at some point this year, but, I think be a part of their plans as a potential starter instead of a guy that seemed like he was inevitably going to the bullpen. His last 2 AA starts, by the way, going into this, he might get one more in. So he'll get one more in after we record this, maybe. But
maybe
11 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 17 Ks. So he's riding a hot streak here going into the futures game. So it'll be fun to watch him go.
You know what the best number in there is?
The walks.
3 walks. Hey, if you're throwing 100, I mean, dude, just don't walk people. And like that's what he's doing. So we did a mailbag episode on the Just Baseball show this week, and one of the questions was possible rookie all-stars next year. And I shouted Schultz because, like, it feels like a kind of easy transition to big league ball if he's throwing strikes. Like, it's hard to pick that up. It's hard to pick up, mid to high 90s from 6'9" with the best slider in minor league baseball.
I agree 100%. And he is, again, they're managing him, but he is at 60 pitches every single time out there. And because he's so efficient, he is pretty much going 4 innings every single time out there. Next year, you imagine they let him go to 80 pitches. Why not do that in the second half of the season at the big league level or a little bit earlier at the big league level? With how much he fills up the zone, he is a guy that has no business being as economical as he is. So I'm with you. Like combining that swing and miss with how economical he is, that's a rare combination and a special one. And I think a lot of people are going to be pumped about what this kid can do. And hopefully White Sox fans that have been teetering on the edge over the last year or two are going to see a Noah Schultz here in this game and see what Drew Thorpe is doing right now at the big league level and at least see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. We saved the best for last. The National League pitching staff is as good as you could possibly imagine. Bubba Chandler, Chase Dolander, Tink Hence, Rhett Lauder, Quinn Matthews, Noble Meyer, Robbie Snelling, Brandon Sproat, Thomas White. Oh my gosh. Give me the pitch on each of these guys. We're going to go kind of like one by one, the elevator pitch, starting with Bubba Chandler, who's in AA for Pittsburgh and just threw into the 8th. He faced the minimum in 7 2/3. Oh my gosh, man.
I love that. Next time out, they go, all right, you're chilling out.
2 innings.
Did something happen? Nothing happened, right? They just had him go.
No, it's just like, dude, go enjoy the futures game.
Yeah, like, hey, chill out, man. Like we had to go 98, 97 pitches back-to-back days. By the way, 64 strikes in both outings. He is on another planet right now. If I could have like a prediction to who is the most likely to strike out the side, it's this dude. Because he could just go, he could glove flip you fastball and he might just with the way that it is living right now at the top, with the way that he's commanding it and how hard he's throwing, I think he could just blow it by you 3 straight times and say, sit down. Like it has looked that good. Last 3 starts, 21 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 hits, 28 strikeouts, and 2 walks. His fastball has averaged 97.2 miles per hour in that span with crazy characteristics. We're still waiting on the secondary command to continue to get better here, and it has over the stretch, which is why he's been so dominant, and that cutter slider has been really good. The changeup when he commands it is really good, but just watch the fastball. Like the fastball is special and guarantees that this guy at worst is a high leverage reliever, but I don't think there's much more concern about that now with the way he's throwing. Really special.
This is going to be cinema, man. Like all these pitchers are going to be absolute cinema. Chase Dolander, is he high A with the Rockies? Why is he not in Hartford? I have no idea. Thank you for asking. But Dolander is going to be out there, and Dolander, I'm excited to see throw non-fastballs. I know he's been throwing a lot of fastballs, and I'm excited to see the fastball, but I'm excited to see the fluid Chase Dolander that we were talking about, and we talked about that after his first couple of starts in Spokane. It was like he looks like sophomore year Dolander. He kind of curbed that junior year Dolander where it just felt a little stiff, and he's back to like loose and super athletic Chase Dolander, and I'm excited to see that over an inning.
Yeah, when we had that conversation with him, and you don't want to pry too hard and you don't want to like push them in any direction, but I did want to just hear like, hey, how'd you feel last year? And what have you done to get closer to where, you were the year before as a professional? And I mean, he couldn't have answered it better. I left that conversation with him feeling as confident in him going into this year as possible. I did expect him to vary a bit more. And it is surprising to still see that 67% fastball usage here. But how can you blame him? I mean, no one's touching it right now in high A, which is part of the reason why he needs to go to double A. Both the breaking balls are good. The changeup has really come a long way as well. But I do think this is a guy that's going to kind of be Bubba Chandler-esque and just blow the 97, 98 mile an hour fastball by you with the characteristics that it has. Guys are going to really struggle to get to that one, but I hope he mixes in a couple good breaking balls.
Tink Hence could also do that. Double A with St. Louis, he could probably flick the glove and just kind of hang out and go fastballs and, take a seat. But he may flash some other stuff, man. And I'm excited to see this version of Tink Hence work. We saw last year's version of Tink Hence work, and that was fun. But this is an objectively way better and way more mature Tink Hence that we're going to see in the futures game.
No doubt. Also, wanted to mention they cut Dollander short a little bit last outing.
Oh, there you go.
3 innings. He struck out all 9 outs.
Nice.
So that's fun. But no, hence this is what we've been waiting for, right? Like we've seen him just now continue to take that step forward and just continue to progress both from a being stretched out standpoint to also just, I think, showing the entire arsenal and throwing strikes. Talk about a prospect fatigue guy. Like it feels like he's way older than 21 in 11 months here. He doesn't turn 22 for another few weeks. Like he is so athletic. He's so fun to watch on the mound. The slider is gross. The changeup when he's locating it is gross. Like he can throw a few different pitches here that I think would turn a lot of heads. And he's just so athletic on the mound that I think people are just going to gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. Next guy, as I pull up the roster again, is Rhett Lauder with Cincinnati. I really hope he is in Louisville very soon and he comes to Indianapolis in mid-August because I really want to see this guy throw live. And the beauty of going out to Arlington is we're going to get to see this guy throw live. But another guy that is not enjoyed best over 1 inning. He's best enjoyed over 6.
Yeah, watch him nail the glove hopefully a couple times.
Right.
And maybe he's a guy that could give you one of each and set you down. And that's always just very aesthetically pleasing, right? He might go 4-seamer, sinker, slider, or 4-seamer, changeup, slider, and set you down. And you're like, whoa, he's got all 3 of those. Like that's fun. But yeah, it's not a guy that's going to tick up and look like a different pitcher here in a short spurt.
Quinn Matthews with the Cardinals. Quinn Matthews in a double A now. He could probably flick the glove, right?
The way this fastball is played, man, I don't even know what a 1 inning spurt's going to look like from him because, I think after we saw him throw a trillion pitches at Stanford, I think the Cardinals were like, okay, well, you're good to go. And I mean, he's thrown 80 plus pitches pretty much every single time out here after the first 2 outings of the year, despite the massive uptick. He's jumped 3+ miles per hour this year. He's averaging 95, but it's also with good characteristics. He might start touching 97, 98, another guy that, I do think could flick the glove. The slider has been so good. The changeup has been, I think, one of the more underrated changeups in the minor leagues. And if you combine the two, opponents are hitting $155 against him. So I think people are going to see, it almost looks like you took the college Quinn Matthews because the pitchability's there and you just turned all the sliders up. So some college baseball fans are going to be like, what the hell? What happened? Yeah. Where did that come from? It's really cool. And I think a lot of people are going to realize that this is not the Quinn Matthews you saw in college if you are not already clued in.
They're going to go to the bio and be like, well, I just want to make sure this isn't the same Stanford kid. It's like, yeah, it is. No, don't worry about that. Next guy is Noble Meyer, who is in high A with the Miami Marlins right now. And this is my ninja card here because it's too easy to pick a Brandon Sproat fastball. And we'll get to Sproat here in a moment. Or a Chandler fastball or something like that. Noble Meyer's slider is my ninja card that I'm pulling.
Valid. I mean, it plays up because of the release, and it's already characteristic wise gross, and just the way that he throws it and the way that he's able to kind of just get it to fall off the table and dive away from you. When he's throwing strikes, it's awesome. And I think that's the question here. Is he going to throw enough strikes? And he's been better at that this year. I think the command is really taken a nice step forward here. He's been pretty good in high A since getting promoted, and they've managed his innings pretty carefully. He's somebody that I think because of the release, it seems like he's throwing harder than he is. It's going to be mostly 94, 95, I think. But that slider It's not as good as Noah Schultz, but it's top 3, I think, in this game.
Yeah. 3 more guys. Robbie Snelling with the Padres, Brandon Sproat with the Mets, Thomas White with the Marlins. Snelling, AA with San Diego right now. It's San Antonio. It's been, I don't even want to call it a mixed bag. It's been an underwhelming year for Snelling to this point. I love the way he kind of bulldogs through starts when he's right. I feel like he's best enjoyed over 6 as well, and that's so much of the value that Snelling provides. I think this guy is one of the better pitchers in minor league baseball, like damn good. I think this is a struggle. I don't think this is who he is. I think last year is who he is, and I hope that it's a good inning to kind of give him that, yeah, I am the man confidence boost.
And I think it will be a clue into what it looks like when he's throwing a little bit harder, because I do think the thing that is kind of separating Snelling from that back rotation profile to a guy that could be a high-end 3 or even better than that is really that fastball velocity, because it's pretty standard characteristics, but he commands it pretty well, and that's why he's been able to get outs. But he's been a little bit subdued this year at velocity-wise. It's climbed back as the years progress some, but I was kind of hoping that he'd take another step forward with how physical he is, the athlete he is, being a football guy, and it's just been more 92 this year. So in a short spurt, I think we'll see the way his entire arsenal would play if he could gain a tick or 2 as he progresses. He's still just 20 years old. But, I mean, the secondary command is fantastic. It's continued to be this year. Really, the big reason why he has struggled has been the long ball. I think if it weren't for the large uptick in with the long ball in the Texas League here, I think it would look a lot better overall. But I still think that this is like you said, one of the most talented pitchers in the minor leagues, and hopefully he shows that.
Brandon Sproat is next. It's crazy that I've already named him the MVP of the Futures game, Sproat. I mean, he's going to be on Pitching Ninja with like 2 or 3 of his offerings.
Yeah.
He's got frontline stuff, and I think that this is I already said it on the Just Baseball show. I think when we initially broke these down, when the rosters were announced, like he's the Jacob Mizorowski of this year, where a lot of people are going to walk away and be like, "Oh, he's a superstar, huh?"
It's funny because you remember when we did the Mets top prospects, and you knew how much I liked to play Tidwell, and then in the 11th hour, I swapped on you and I had Sproat ahead of him. And I think literally on the episode, you're like, I didn't even really get a chance to talk to you about this. Like, why Sproat now? You love Tidwell. And I was like, this might burn me, but I was just insanely floored by the stuff.
Yeah.
Like out of the gate in the early part of this year, like, holy crap. I didn't realize that like it could all come together. I didn't realize the fastball characteristics. I didn't realize some of the things that he had improved going into this year. And that's why we were quick to put him high on that Mets list, and then quick to put him on the top 100 list, and now quick to have him climbing very, very high. I think by the end of the year, this guy could be a top 30 prospect. And I do think this is the nastiest changeup in the game. Like in this game, not the game in general, but this game, it is ridiculous. He throws it like 20% of the time. Opponents are hitting $120 against it, but just the movement profile is comical. And he throws it at like 89. It shares some similarities to that like Skeen Splinker. And if it's more 90-91, in these short spurts, it's going to be turning heads there. But then he's got the cutter, curve, slider. And you mentioned the fastball is electric. And he's touched triple digits this year. Opponents are hitting 175 against his fastball.
Right.
Like,
so I was going to say like, oh yeah, it's cool that they're hitting $120 against his changeup. They're hitting 168 against him overall. Like, okay, it's a fine pitch then.
Yeah. So this is the Mizorowski this year. I 100% agree.
Last guy is Thomas White, the lefty of the Marlins. Lanky, throws like a lank machine, and it's effective like your typical lank machine. I'm excited to see him work.
He might be upper 90s too. And I
think so.
This is going to be one where I think people are going to start really jumping on and this is not an indictment on Noble Meyer. I think he's one of the better young pitching prospects in the game too. I think people are going to really start warming up to Thomas White being better than Noble Meyer and being the Marlins' top pitching prospect and potentially their top prospect period. It's just that much more advanced. Fastball, curve, changeup, all have been performing really well this year. He's sitting 95.5 really. That changeup, I think, was way underestimated as an amateur and has been performing really well. And he's a guy that should get to AA, before the end of the year. Like he is a guy that I think is just going to consistently be ahead of Noble Meyer. So in a 1 inning spurt here, he might be grabbing 7s, 8s. I wouldn't be shocked if he grabbed a 9.
Those are the rosters. Last question for you before we say bye. Should Paul Skeens start the All-Star game in the National League?
Oh my! How was that a conversation for so many reasons? Like, I get it. We had Verlander start it, or no, it was Verlander, right? Or no? Who did we give
Kershaw
it?
started in
Kershaw,
LA.
that's what it was. Okay, sorry, wrong old guy. Yeah, we gave Kershaw, the start there. Like, it's about the fans, but
Yeah.
beyond that, Kershaw was throwing really well. They're not going to just put some guy that sucks in the game or that has no business being there. If he has a decent case, and then the marketing aspects can go into it, I think it's a no-brainer, and Skeens already made his case without the marketing aspect, but it's a moot point. I do want to at least put our predictions on the skills competition out there. So should we put that officially out on Twitter for people to look for?
Yeah, I don't even know what it is, so I'm going to need a little bit more prep. I might need you to explain it to me like a board game when we're in person in Arlington, and then we'll put those on Twitter. That works.
We'll put it out. Yeah, we'll put it out on Twitter and just keep an eye out for that. But I'm excited, and then we'll recap it. If you missed the predictions, we'll recap and see where we went wrong, where we went right. Because I don't know the whole scope of the skills competitions either, but I love the idea because everyone wanted the games to be longer. This is a good way to, at least if you're not willing to add more innings, I get it from a liability perspective. Let's do something else that's fun.
You have like 9 arms. Why not just give everybody an inning and say, all right, there we go.
Yeah, well, that sounds too simple.
It's too simple. Yeah, you're right. No, we gotta somehow do this. And speaking of which, it's like, hey, explain to me how to play Catan. Like, explain to me the future's skill showcase, and I'm excited to see whatever it looks like.
Me too. And we will recap it and have a lot more draft coverage, one more mock draft, a lot more stuff coming very soon. Jack, you're about to go call a doubleheader, so we'll let you get to it. As always, thank you everybody for listening. And we got a lot of draft coverage, and that live stream will keep you clued in on all of that very soon. And keep checking justbaseball.com. Draft rankings coming out as well. Talk to you next week.